my opportunity to introduce our third speaker of our Humorous Speech Contest. That is Steve Myers. The name of his speech is The Wisdom of Forgiveness. The Wisdom of Forgiveness, Steve Myers. Steve Myers, The Wisdom of Forgiveness.
My name is Inigo Montoya, who killed my father. Prepare to die. You recognize those words from 1987 adventure romance comedy?
Princess Bride.
The Princess Bride. Little Inigo, at a young age, he witnesses the murder of his father by a six-fingered swordsman. From that point forward, he has lived a life to wreak vengeance for that. Wherever he goes, that's what he says over and over in the movie. You knew that because you'd heard it so many times. He finds a band who are willing to help him along as long as he achieves their ends too. Finally, the six-fingered swordsman villain is dead. And Inigo, walking away from the scene, it comments, "I've spent my entire life waiting for this moment of revenge. Now I don't know what to do with myself." Okay, that's a character in a movie. But think about what happened there. Think about what kind of long-term grudges do we harbor. I think we do things that are similarly comical, but the sad part is we take away from the quality of our lives. A local election. Oh, there's a guy named Simpson on there. Simpson? What do I have on Simpson? Ah, 5th grade, recess. Kickball game going on. Players are being picked. He leaves me for last. Oh, why could he do that? And you are thinking about it, and you are physically reliving the passions of that humiliation. You haven't heard or seen this man in 30 years, and you will be reminded, I'm not voting for him. That's not a good man. Now, these associations can be kicked off by anything. Something to remind us of a person, of a place, and we'll go back into these unforgiven moments, these dark places we have. Now, there's value into remembering what goes on in your life, right? And you can know who not to trust, what situations to avoid, what limbs not to go out on again. But that's at a high level. Reenacting this mentally in your mind, physically in your body, that is very detracting to our enjoyment here. Very detracting to wake up in the morning. And instead of being fresh, you quickly go back this mental list of all the people who have offended you. You start making this mental list again just to justify being bitter. What a waste. Now we can avoid this problem, I'm suggesting here, this tormenting that we do to ourselves by two time-proven techniques that we know. I'm just going to explain to you in terms of some benefits that maybe we haven't thought about here. The first is compassion. In the Bible it says, love thy neighbor as thyself. Right? Now is that the neighbors need more love? Or maybe that we're more likely to forgive those that we care about. In the Buddhist tradition, they have the reincarnation. I heard a story in there that really sunk with me in explaining compassion. They believe we've gone through many, many iterations of lives for a long, long time, and so that from that perspective, anyone on the planet right now could have at one time been your mother. Now that's someone you're more likely to forgive, or at least work out a peaceful situation with. Let me pull another example here. I'll call our second line here. Aside from compassion, there's a certain value in defending your emotional interior, right? You have Billy Bob, who stole my girlfriend back in high school. I've been 20 years just seething, upset. It's Billy Bob. And I've just worked myself up into an ulcer. I can't even think of the hair of his name. I can't even drive by the school, and I'm upset. Where's Billy Bob? Billy Bob's a janitor in Detroit. He's got the Walkman on. He is oblivious to all my hate and seething and my internal turmoil. I am not exacting punishment on him. The irony is I'm exacting punishment on me. How futile it is to think that there's any value in holding on to that grudge. The Bible goes on to say, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you. How counterintuitive are those little commands? Man, not my knee-jerk reaction, you know? But as it applies here, I think the message of the teaching is that, paraphrase a popular saying, bad stuff happens, but we really make it destructive when we internalize it. In his book, The Wisdom of Forgiveness, the Dalai Lama describes his relationship with a monk who was there when the Chinese invaded the Tibetan lands, murdered and kicked them out of their homeland. And this monk was thrown into prison for 20 years, in which time they tortured him, they made him renounce his religion, they tried to do everything to break his spirit. When he was released, the Dalai Lama met him again. He said he looked like he'd gone through 20 years of hell, but his disposition was gentle. His disposition was the same. And the monk said that he kept his sanity by forgiving those who were brutally abusing him. The Dalai Lama asked, "Weren't you afraid?" He says, "Of course. I was afraid that I would lose my compassion for my Chinese captors." There's a man who knew that the worst thing he could do for himself was to pull those ill feelings inside and let them sit there and stew like a septic tank. What can we do? Just, when we find ourselves mechanically chanting, "My name is Hugo Montoya, I killed my father, I'm going to kill you." When we find ourselves doing that, we can stop to think that maybe that forgiveness is in our best interest, to forgive someone else. And maybe perhaps we could be humble to think, despite how strong I am, or how smart I am, or how busy and controlling I can be, when it all comes down to it, the wisest move we can make for ourselves is letting go. Madam Chairperson.